Well, hello everybody. I hope you're having a great day with Jan and Sheridan. I would have loved to have been with you in person, but Cyclone Gabrielle had other plans. However, it is still my absolute privilege to be connecting with you remotely. I'm going to jump straight into our content today because we've got a lot to get through in a very short space of time. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Josh. I'm married. I've been married for 16 and a half years to my beautiful wife Liz. We've got 3 kids here at home. We homeschool our children. Probably should say that my wife homeschools our children, and I'm vaguely aware that there are 3 short people in the house during the week. I lead a church down here in Christchurch, and in December, my wife and I opened up a gelato cafe here in our hometown, which is going gangbusters, but that's created a whole nother level of, dare I say, busyness in our lives. So it's been a very full summer period, and I was actually really looking forward to coming up and hanging out with you guys, mostly just to get some time away, which I thought would be awesome. But anyway, that's me, kind of in a nutshell. Sheridan gave me a call and said, Josh, I would love for you to share some leadership training on John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership. And I said, absolutely, Sheridan, I would love to do that. And then I got off the phone and I Googled John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership because I wasn't quite sure what Sheridan was talking about. And then I remembered, that's right, yes, John Maxwell wrote a book called The 5 Levels of Leadership. I think most of us understand, don't we, that you can have good leaders and you can have bad leaders. You can have effective leaders and you can have ineffective leaders. We've all worked alongside someone, had a boss that we enjoyed working with. We thought they knew what they were doing. And, by the time you get to my age, you've definitely worked with people that you kind of thought, well, they don't know what they're doing, and I don't overly enjoy working with them. So we all understand that there are leadership, levels. There's different degrees of leadership. And so John Maxwell's kind of encapsulated that idea and written this book, The 5 Levels of Leadership. But he would be the first to admit that he hasn't come up with this concept. In fact, Jim Rohn talks about the different levels of leadership in his book, From Good to Great. He's got a whole chapter devoted to it. Any leadership guru, any personal development, expert is going to talk to you about this idea that, you can move through leadership levels, you can grow as a leader, which is great, for you and me to know that we can grow as leaders. One of the questions I get asked all the time is leadership something you're born with, Josh, or can you develop it as you go? And there's lots of different answers to that question. Maybe it's a little bit of both, but one of the things I like to ask is, well, what do you mean by leadership? Because in the Western world, in the Western corporate world in particular, we have this obsession with leadership meaning type A personality, which is this, outgoing, extravagant, extroverted, kind of ride over the top of people, dominant, get your way. And we kind of see that personality and go, well, that person would make a great leader because he gets what he wants or she gets what she wants all the time. And so if you're talking about that kind of leadership, then yeah, probably you're born with it. But if you're talking about actual effective leadership, if you're talking about leadership being influenced, that's very nuanced. And that takes a huge amount of work and a huge amount of growth. So I would say no matter where you are on your leadership journey, you can be better. You can do better, you can grow. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. Now, 2 things that I want you to be aware of before we jump into this content. Number 1, you're going to be tempted as we go to try and self-analyze where you're at on this leadership level spectrum. You're going to be hearing me describing the different leadership levels, and you're going to go, I think I might be level 3. Maybe I could get to level 4. Don't do that. Because actually, you are not any one level across the board. You are at different levels with different people within your organization. For example, you might be, and this level system works like any other level system you've ever heard, 5's the best, 1's the worst, right? So if you're at a 3, you want to work your way up to a 5. But you might be at a level 4 with someone that you've had in your organization for a long time. And then you've got Johnny that's just joined your organization. You've only known Johnny for a couple of weeks. You're not at level 4 with Johnny. Maybe you've got someone on your team that you were best friends with since you were at high school, and you're level 5 with them because you've got all of this history. But then over here, you've got some massive conflict with employee B, and you're not at level 5 with them. So just drop this idea that you are going to be at one level across your whole organization. You're at different levels with different people at different times. That's one thing you've got to know. The second thing I want you to hold on to as we talk about this is that you don't only move up levels. you also move down levels. You can be doing really well with someone and then they come to you when you're having a bad day and you respond badly to some piece of feedback that they gave you, and all of a sudden you've impacted your leadership level with them, you've impacted your relationship, and you've dropped down a level. And the crappy thing about levels in this instance is that it takes a huge amount of effort and work to work up a level, and then you can drop down a level, like that. So those are the two things I want you to hold on to. You're at a different level with different people at different times in your organization, and you can move down easier than you can move up. So don't get yourself up to like level 4 or 5 with someone and then just rest on your laurels and go, well, I've nailed it with that person. Just through sheer, ignoring them or thinking that you're there, you can drop down levels just through inaction. Okay, so you've got to be very intentional all the time. Leadership is hard work. I heard someone say the other day, leadership is just identifying all the people that hate you and then keeping them as far away from the people that haven't made up their minds yet. That's actually not a bad definition of leadership sometimes. Sometimes it feels like that, right? So we're going to jump in today to the 5 levels of leadership. Here we go. And we're going to look at each of these levels very quickly because we don't have a huge amount of time. And I'm going to give you the pros and the cons of each level and then some tips on how to move up each level. Okay, so the 5 levels of leadership. Level number 1 is position. This is defined by an R word, rights. I have the right to be your boss because I've been given that permission. I've been given that title. I have a name badge that says manager. I have a name badge that says supervisor. I have a title in my organization. Maybe it's youth pastor. Maybe it's, whatever it might be, duty manager, floor supervisor, whatever it is. I have the position. And so people follow me because they have to. Now, this is the lowest level of leadership. And John Maxwell says, look, it's a great place to start, but you don't want to stay there, okay? It is the lowest level of leadership. People follow you because you've got that name tag. If you didn't have it, there's no way they'll do what you ask them to do. And so there's a couple of upsides to this positional leadership. Number 1, you do carry some level of authority and power. Like, people do have to do what you say to a certain extent, and depending on how big of a person you are, it's quite a lot of fun. Actually, you get a bit of a power trip. So there's a little bit of an upside. And the other upside is that actually there is an invitation and an opportunity to grow and develop your leadership skills. It's actually really hard to develop your leadership skills when you've got no leadership context. You haven't been given the opportunity to lead anywhere. I mean, you can listen to podcasts, you can, come to days like this, you can read books, but at the end of the day, you've got no opportunity to implement anything you're learning because you don't lead anything. So at positional leadership, you've actually got the opportunity to go back to your organization or your team or whatever it is that you're leading and go, I heard this great thing today. Let's try it. Let's try this new thing. Let's listen to this podcast together. Let's grow. It's a great starting point, right? But you definitely don't want to stay there because there are some downsides to this position. Number 1, it often gets very lonely. I remember when I was working for a radio station in Timaru, a very small station. There's maybe like 6 or 7 staff plus our boss. And our boss he just epitomized positional leadership. No one liked him. Everybody hated him. We only worked for him because we had to, because he had the title of boss and he had bosses above him, and we knew if we didn't do what our boss said, we'd get in trouble with our bigger bosses. And we actually respected our bigger bosses, but our actual boss, just no one liked him. And I didn't even think about this. I mean, this kind of sums him up. Just to give you a bit of a picture on who he was. He was in his early 60s when I got there. He was about 5'4", very, very short man, and he competed professionally as a bodybuilder. And his entire office was filled with framed photographs of him wearing almost nothing, bronzed to within an inch of his life, in various, poses. And it wasn't enough for his office to just be inundated with these photos. If you went into his office to have a meeting, he would just hand them to you while you were having a meeting. Oh, hey, look, this is my latest competition. I won gold in that competition. He was always winning medals and awards and stuff. And about 6 months in, I clicked that the only reason he was winning gold everywhere is because the competitions were broken into age brackets, and there was literally no other 64-year-old competing, because who wants to do that? And he had this female bodybuilding partner, and she was also in almost nothing, bronzed to within an inch of her life, and she was in all the photos. And I remember thinking, as a guy in my mid-20s, you've got no photos of your family. It's like, no photos of your wife. There's just photos of this half-naked woman, draped over you, in various poses. This is weird. We used to do this thing called Fish and Chip Friday, where all the staff would get fish and chips on Fridays. Put in your order, someone would go out and get it, they'd come back. We've been doing it for months, hadn't thought anything of it. And then one day out of nowhere, this boss just bursts into the staff room and he just loses it. And he's like, I never get invited to Fish and Chip Fridays. I work for this place too. It's not fair. And then he storms out. And we're all like, whoa, we don't invite you because you can't talk about your boss behind their back if they're in the room, mate. Think about it. I mean, seriously, people would say some horrible things about him. It's just not a nice person. And I know you're kind of feeling sorry for him, but I could tell you some stories, right? And you'd be like, oh, yes, he's not a nice guy. But it's very lonely being a positional leader, right? It's hard work. Another downside is people don't give their best. Why would they? They're only working for you because they have to. I can't tell you the amount of shenanigans that I got up to at that radio station. One of my co-workers and I started our own Trade Me business from work. And there were weeks where we spent more hours trying to buy and sell things on Trade Me than we did ever working. And again, just remember, I was in my mid-20s, right? I was very immature. But people don't give their best. And then because they don't give their best, you have to push them. And that gets tiring and exhausting. And because you've got no relational equity, you have to lean on your position in order to achieve. You've got to say things like, I'm the boss, and because I'm in charge, and because I'm signing your paycheck, or all that kind of stuff. And then because you're constantly enforcing your position, you get this thing called identity overlap. And that is when you become so synonymous with what you do, you can't work out where who you are as a person stops and where your position of employment starts. And that's when you end up with people that leave their job and they have identity crises. And you see it a lot in volunteer organizations and churches, have someone leading a team and then you have to stand them down or they resign and then they don't know what to do with their life because this was everything to them. And another downside is that you will typically experience high staff turnover. And that was very true for our station in Timaru. People would come and go, they'd last 6 months and then they're out the door again. So that's one of the ways that you can kind of identify if maybe you're leading a little bit positionally is you have high staff turnover. So it's a great place to start, but you don't want to stay there. So we're going to put position right down here at the bottom. People follow because they have to. The next level, again, we're going to burn through these pretty quick. The next level is the permission level, the relationship level. This is a massive step up. This is people following you because they want to. So this comes with some significant upsides, right? Number one, it makes the work environment more fun and energetic. It's far less lonely. You get to work with people you enjoy, that you actually want to hang out with, that want to hang out with you. You're like comrades, you're friends, you're in the trenches together. You've got this rapport. It's way more fun leading from a relational position. You have less staff turnover. Obvious, that makes sense because people are enjoying their work more. They don't want to leave. You have more opportunity to communicate if you're leading relationally, because you're connecting often outside of work. You're catching up for coffee. Maybe you're babysitting each other's kids. Maybe you go out for a meal. A lot of the people that I lead, I try and connect with outside of the work environment to build this sort of social connection, this relationship. And then very often, because it just happens, you do end up talking a little bit about this, or this happened in the meeting the other day, or yeah, I thought that too. And so there's just more opportunity to communicate, which means less opportunity for misunderstandings and things to kind of slide on by that then become bigger issues later on. It builds trust also. Leading relationally is the first level where trust is built. You can't have any of these other levels, 3, 4, and 5, without trust being built. Simon Sinek says, a team is not a group of people that work together. It's a group of people that trust each other. Trust starts at the permission level, the relationship level. So you want to move from position to permission, right? You want to move from, I have the right to tell you what to do, to I have the relationship to tell you what to do. So how do we do that? How do we move up? Couple of things real quick. Number one, initiate contact with your people. I'm gonna hit a sacred cow here, and I'm going to offend some people. I have heard so many people make this statement, but don't feel bad. I have also made this statement, and it comes from a good place. It comes from good intentions. And this is the statement. If you need me, if you want me, however you want to start it, but it ends with this: my door is always open. Come on, be honest. How many people have said my door is always open in a leadership context? What we're trying to communicate, I have. What we're trying to communicate is, I'm here if you need me. If you need my help, come and ask. I'm available. I'm accessible. I'm not a scary guy. I'm here. Come see me if you need me. My door's always open. If you want to get up and you want to walk down the hallway, figuratively speaking, and you want to come around the corner and you want to step into my office, you're not going to hit a closed door. My door is open. Here's the problem with that statement. What we are also communicating is, if you need me, you have to come to me. If you want our worlds to kind of be together, you have to make the effort. I will sit behind my desk and I will wait for you to come in. And if you want to get up and walk down the hallway and come around the corner and come into my office and knock on the door as you walk in and say, hey, I've got a question, I'm totally here for you. But I'm sitting here waiting for you to come to me, and that's not leadership. Leaders initiate contact with their people. Your people don't have to get up and come through your open door to tell you they've got a problem because you already know about it, because it came up when you were hanging out. They don't have to get up and come and ask you a question about how to solve a problem they're having, because they asked you that question when you rang them to ask how they were going. Right? So I want to challenge you to drop that from your vocabulary. My door is always open, because what you're saying is, if you want to initiate connection, I'm here. But that's not leadership. Leaders go first. So initiate contact with your people. Be the one to go to their office, or to go stand next door to their desk, or to pick up the phone and give them a call, and just ask them how they're going. That's what leaders do. Number 2, you're going to shift from rules to relationship. We're going to burn through this quickly, but fundamentally we understand that the stronger and healthier a relationship is, the less rules you need. I have a very strong and healthy relationship with my wife. So as a result, we have very few rules. I don't have a hard and fast rule. I haven't sat my wife down and said, honey, I have got a rule. And my rule is that you are not allowed to go out and see other men. I'm sorry, that's just a rule. I've never said that. I don't need to say that. And how many people know that if I had to say that, and the only thing that stopped my wife from going out and seeing other men was she's like, oh, that's right, Josh has got that rule, can't do that. Otherwise I would, but the rules stop. Like, that's not a healthy relationship, right? So focus on moving from rules to relationship, and you can define to a certain extent how healthy your relationships are within your organization by how many rules you have. All right, so have a think about that. And learn to say, I don't know. Nothing is healthier for a relationship than for you to be vulnerable and open and say, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what we're going to do here, guys, but what do you think? So many leaders are terrified of being vulnerable and open and honest about the fact that they don't know everything. But here's a tip. Your team know that you don't know everything. They're just not sure if you know that you don't know everything. And so when you say, I don't know, they go, oh, good. He knows. Or she knows she doesn't know everything. I was wondering if she knew she didn't know everything. She acted like she knew everything. I've never heard her say she doesn't. So say, I don't know. That's how you move up. But here's the thing. Once you move up, you're kind of like, oh, actually, this relationship thing comes with its own issues as well. So you're going to go from position to permission, level 2. But there's some downsides here as well. Number 1, you can come across too soft at times because you're pursuing this relationship thing. And as a result, you can be taken advantage of. People start turning up late to meetings and you don't tell them off because you're like, man, I want to be this cool relational leader. Like, we're buddies, and it's going to make it weird if I'm like, hey, you were late. That's not cool. So you get taken advantage of a little time. Or people are late handing in deadlines, or they don't do a good enough job, or they let you down, or your expectations aren't met. And you just kind of go, well, I don't know how to handle this now because we're friends. It's weird. And as a result, it can frustrate high-performance people. I've sat in teams where high-performance people have got so frustrated with the fact that a particular person comes in late and nothing is said. And so this person just delays the meeting by 10 minutes every week. And eventually the high-performance people go, I got better things to do with my time. I'm not going to put up with this. And so you can lose high-performance people if you camp in the permission level of leadership, the relationship level of leadership. So we don't want to camp there. What we want to do is we want to move. Also, here's the other thing. It requires significantly more energy than the positional leadership. I mean, let's be honest. It requires nothing of you to tell someone what to do because you're their boss. If you want to move to relationship leadership, to permission leadership, it takes a lot more energy. All right? But what we want to do is we want to move to production. And this production R word is results. Now people are following you, not just because they like you, but because of what you have done for the organization. There's some great upsides to the production's leadership level. Number 1, results mean credibility. People are like, I think Josh knows what he's doing. I can see that he's getting results. That's exciting to me. And results create momentum, which is a leader's best friend. You guys will probably have heard the analogy, but if a train is going at full speed, you can set like a concrete block wall on the train track and the train will smash through that thing. You take that same train with no momentum, just sitting stationary, you can put like a 1-inch high block of wood in front of its wheels and it can't move. No matter how much they try and get that train moving, no matter how high they stoke the fire or put the, whatever fuel it's using. I've got this Back to the Future locomotive train in my head where they got to throw, stuff into the fire. But My point is that motivation, you can smash through anything. Momentum, you can smash through anything. But without momentum, even the smallest thing can become a real problem. And so production leadership, getting results, creates that momentum, which is awesome. And those same results attract high quality people. So now you're leading with relational connection because we build on top of each level. We don't move from that level to the next one. We're building on top of it. But we're also getting, results, which is awesome. So you want to move from permission to production. People following you, we're still relationally connected, but now you're getting results. So how do you move up? Well, you need to set the example. This is super important. As a leader, set the example. If the meeting starts at such and such a time, you are there ready to go before that meeting starts. If you set the team a task to do, you're the first person to do that task. You are constantly setting the example about what is expected within the culture of your organization. The second thing that also helps is you're going to hire well, because you cannot achieve this production level of leadership by yourself. You can't get organizational results on your own. You need your team to be getting those results. You need to be achieving those results together as a team. And one of the best ways to do that is to make sure that you are hiring the right people. You're hiring well. That's a big part of moving up. That one of the big things that could be stopping you from moving from the relationship level where you all get on great, you're having a great time, but you're not really achieving your goals or hitting your objectives. One of the things that's stopping you from going up to the next level is maybe you just don't have the right people on your team. Like, you love them, they're great, relationships are awesome, but they're not doing a good job, right? So you got to hire well. And then you want to communicate clearly. You want to communicate your vision clearly, your purpose clearly, your success clearly. Clarity is incredibly important when it comes to leadership. Let me ask you this question. Regardless of what you think of Donald Trump, he's a very polarizing figure. Regardless of what you think of him, what was Donald Trump's slogan through the whole campaign where he was running for president? What was the slogan? Right? It was MAGA. It was Make America Great Again. Everybody knew that was Donald Trump's slogan. He had real clarity around what he was trying to achieve. And that's why so many people voted for Donald Trump, because they knew what they were voting for. What was Hillary Clinton's campaign slogan? Any idea? No one knows. It changed like 5 times during the election process. Even now, I couldn't tell you what it was. No one knew, if they voted for Hillary, what she was going to do or where exactly she was going to start. It was very vague. And so clarity, again, regardless of what you thought of his character or who he is as a person, clarity was what won him that election. So you need to communicate clearly with your team. How are they ever going to get the results that you want them to get if they don't know what the results are? How are they ever going to achieve your objectives if you haven't communicated clearly what you're doing and why you're doing it? So that's how you move up. Your communication game really needs to lift. Your hiring game needs to lift, and you need to set the example. Okay, so production now sits on top of permission. And again, it's not instead of. You can see that we are building these. So you have a positional leadership. Obviously, you're a leader. You've been given a title, but you're not choosing to operate from that space. You are choosing to build relational connection, so that people want to follow you. And when you've got those strong relationships, now you've got this, you're getting results as a team, and people aren't just following you because they think you're a nice guy or a nice gal, but because you actually know what you're doing. All right? But you don't want to stay at the production level, because there's some downsides to that too. Number one, you need to make tough decisions. You're the person that has to say, I'm sorry, you are not working out on this team. Your work is not up to, we're going to have to let you go. Like, that's a tough decision. And it can make the relationship aspect of leading more difficult. If you become very results focused, then it can make the relationship aspect of leading more difficult. And the pressure to consistently achieve those results can lead to the development of unhealthy leadership and personal habits. So the danger of just staying at the production level of leadership is that you end up defining success by results, because that's what you're known for. You're known for the person who got results. You took this organization and you turned it around. You took this issue and you fixed it. You got results. You grew your organization from this number to this number. You fixed the finances from this figure to this figure, and all of a sudden now you're defining yourself through results, and it creates all of this internal pressure. So you don't want to camp at that production level either. What you want to do is you want to move to people development. This is level 4, and this is the rewards level. People follow you because of what you have done for them. Yes, you're getting results, but that's not why they're following you. They're following you because of what you have done for them. And there's some big upsides to this level. It empowers you to lead at a higher level. because you've got such a high level of trust with your people that you can actually delegate a lot of the work that you are doing to them, and you can step up to lead at a higher level. It ensures that organizational growth is sustainable because you are developing your people to become leaders in their own right. You'll never achieve everything that you want to achieve in life if you're the only person that can do what needs to be done. You have to train other people up to set you free to do what only you can do. That's what the best leaders do. The best leaders create leaders. They don't have a whole bunch of followers. If you're a leader with a whole bunch of followers, then you're not a great leader. Level 4 leaders are a leader with a whole bunch of leaders underneath them. Listen, there's a number of organizations that I could name that looked like they were being led very well from the outside, and then when the leader left or the leader fell or the leader got replaced, the whole organization is now just a shadow of what it was before. And the reason for that is because that leader wasn't leading leaders. That leader was leading followers. And then as a result, there was no sustainable organizational growth. All right, so you need to be developing people because it's essential for your organization. And also, it's very fulfilling personally. I think it is one of the most fulfilling things that you can do as a leader is to develop other people to a point where you go, you know what? You're doing what I was doing as well as I was. John Maxwell says that when you have someone on your organization that can do what you do 80% as well as you can do it, that's the point that you transition the responsibility over to them. 80%. Craig Groeschel, another leadership expert, puts it like this. He says, if you've got a leader on your team that can do what you do 50% as well as you're doing it at the moment, but you can see that if you give it to them now, they will grow and they'll get to that 80% mark, that's when you transition it across. Now, how many people would say that they are comfortable delegating responsibility to someone that will do it half as well as you would do it? Like, that takes a lot of trust and a lot of guts, and you've got to be prepared to work with them as they go. But it is very fulfilling personally, that people development upside. So we want to move from production, where people are following us because of what we have done for the organization, to people development, the rewards phase, where people are following us because of what we have done for them. So how do we move up? Number one, you've got to work on your insecurities. This people development level will hit your insecurities like nothing else. Because what you'll start to hear if you're doing it properly, you'll start to hear people that you have raised up, that you have trained, being complimented for doing things really well, that maybe you used to get complimented for. Maybe even some of them will do things better than you did. And you might start to look at them and go, you know what? I think they're doing a better job than I was. What if people start to think that they're better than me? What if they start to think that they're a better leader than I am? Like, all of your insecurities start to come up because now you're not the big fish in the little pond. You've raised up all these little fish to be big fish, and there's quite a few of them swimming around now, and all of a sudden size starts. Is this fish bigger than my fish? What's going on? It'll push on your insecurities. So if you are an insecure person, don't do this. It's going to be really hard for you. You need to adopt the mindset that leadership is primarily about developing leaders, not getting stuff done. This is huge. This might be a bit of a mindset shift for you. Leadership is not about achieving. It's not about getting things done. Real leadership, servant-hearted leadership that results in the single greatest level of influence, which is how John Maxwell defines leadership. It's influence, nothing more, nothing less. It is about developing leaders. That's your goal as a leader, is to develop the leaders around you. Don't worry so much about your organization and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you do at the start, but ultimately you want to be raising up leaders. That's what we are looking for as leaders. So you need to adopt the mindset that, you know what, okay, the organization might take a little bit of a hit here. The results might dip short term as I trust this person with the responsibility that maybe they're not, as ready as I would like them to be. But it's over the long term, the results will come back up and this person is going to develop. And that's my primary objective, is to develop leaders, not to always focus on results. And then you need to be prepared to invest in your people. So you need to be prepared to get them in front of days like this. Like, how many of you came but didn't bring any of your team? You've got to be prepared to invest in your team, invest in their growth. That means you're putting finances into it. You're setting aside budget, not just to grow yourself, but to grow the people in your team. Because, again, your primary goal is to grow your team, not necessarily to use them to get the results that you want to get for your organization. So you've got to shift your mindset there. Okay? So we're going to put people development right on the top, and we are almost done. There is a little bit of a downside to people development. Number one, it is the level that pushes your insecurity button the most, and I touched on this before. That's a downside. That can be quite painful at times, and I've seen different leaders, and I'm sure I have been a leader that at times has reacted out of insecurity, and it's never attractive. So you are going to have to work on yourself a lot if you want to get to this level. It requires more commitment and willingness to serve than any other level. I mean, this is a big commitment to develop other people. It takes a lot more of you than to just lead an organization. And number three, it can result in a lack of recognition for you as a leader. Straight up, other people are getting recognition. And even though you're in the background going, well, they wouldn't be half the leader they were if it wasn't for me, or, I kind of covered over all of their mistakes and kind of smoothed things over so they wouldn't look so bad, and now they're getting all these accolades, and I'm just here in the background not getting anything. That's true. That is one of the, if you want to call it, downsides of the people development leadership level, is that you don't get the credit or the kudos as much as you would if everybody knew that you had done it and you were the leader and you had achieved it and you'd got the results. You'd get more credit. But you got to be prepared to let that go. Again, that's where the insecurities and the ego comes in. All right? And then the last one, we'll finish with this one, is what we call the pinnacle level or respect. And that is that people follow you because of who you are and what you represent. Great upsides for the pinnacle. Number one, it gives your organization the best chance of success because everything rises and falls on leadership. And if you're leading an organization and you've achieved this pinnacle level with the majority of your team, then your organization is in the best place it could possibly be to succeed. It creates the opportunity for a leadership legacy that reaches beyond your tenure or possibly even your lifetime. Very, very few people would achieve the pinnacle level of leadership. And then the third thing is it provides the highest level of influence to bring positive change because you have built over the decades, and it takes a long time to achieve this. You have built these relationship connections with leaders that you have developed that are now probably leading in a variety of organizations and multiple, not-for-profits or corporations all around the place that would do anything for you because of how you have led them over their lives. And so the influence that you now have in a wide space is significant, right? So there's some really good upsides to the pinnacle level of leadership. And so we want to move from people development to pinnacle. We put that right on the top. How do we move up? You need to use your success to help and serve others. The pinnacle level of leadership can only be achieved if you devote yourself to serving other people. There is no room for ego. There is no room for your own goals and your own agenda at the pinnacle level of leadership. It is all about helping and serving others. If you want to move from level 4 personal development to that pinnacle level, you just have to let go of anything that you want and just focus on helping and serving other people. Never stop learning. Don't think that you've ever made it as a leader. You need to commit to that, and you need to stay humble. Because remember I said at the start, you can move down levels as well. It would be a shame to get all the way up to that pinnacle level and then topple off the top of the pyramid because you weren't humble. You let ego get in. You thought you were all that. That's how you move up. And so we're going to put that pinnacle right up the top. And for the pinnacle one, we've got no downsides. I haven't listed any. I'm sure there probably are some, like maybe the pressure to maintain yourself at it, but I haven't put any on there because I just think the pinnacle is so great. So those are the 5 levels of leadership as per John Maxwell: position, permission, production, people development, and pinnacle. I hope that you have found that helpful. I hope you got plenty of notes. I hope you've been able to jot some stuff down and you got some thoughts about things that you can change moving forward. Remember what I said at the start. You're never going to be one level for everybody. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back and look at the different people that you're leading in your organization and ask yourself, what level of leadership am I at with each of those people? I might be a level 5 over here with Johnny because we've been friends since we were 6, but over here with Jasmine, who's only been in our organization for a week, we probably don't even have that relational connection yet. I'm probably just a level 1 for her. So what am I going to do to move from level 1 to level 2? Going to look at the notes that Josh gave me on how to move up. I'm going to focus on those things with her. Maybe I don't need to focus on those things with Johnny because he's already up here. Over here with this person, I think I'm at level 3. Yep, that sounds right. Level 3 feels right. So I want to move to level 4. How do I do that? Look at the notes that Josh gave, right? And remember, you can move down just as easily or even more easily than you can move up. So don't ever just sit back, rest on your laurels and go, well, I've hit level 5 with Dave. We're all good. You still need to be initiating connection. Leaders go first. Leadership is really hard work, and the more you dive into it, the more you realize it is not about me. It is about all these people around me. The higher you work up on that leadership level, the less of yourself is allowed to be in that leadership space, and the more it is about other people. At level 1, positional level, it's all about you. At level 5, pinnacle, none of it's about you. It's all about other people. So as you move up, you're going to have to be prepared to let go of more and more of yourself, more and more of your agenda, and embrace this idea that you are here to serve, because that's ultimately what leadership is all about. Thanks very much for watching. Again, sorry I couldn't be with you guys. Hopefully if we get to do this again, I can be there in person, but I hope you found that helpful. Thank you so much, Sheridan, for giving me the opportunity. It's been a real privilege. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch up again soon. Ciao.